Hey, welcome you guys. Today we're going to make some fake caramel corn, and this is part of my series of state fair food. So if you're wanting some summery things or doing a state fair theme tiered tray or something, this will be perfect. So I'm going to use my foam clay for the popcorn. So I'm just going to condition my clay. And then I'm going to pull off some little pieces that I can use as the popcorn kernels. So you don't want too big of a piece, just enough to make a little popcorn. Roll it into a ball. It doesn't need to be a perfect ball. And then just stick your finger into the center. So then that's kind of those ones that are just the rounded ones. And then we'll make the fancier ones, I guess. That's what I think of them as, the fancier ones. So just roll it into a ball again. And then for this one, we're going to kind of pinch it so that we have two parts to it. And then just put your fingers right where that indentation is, and then you can put your fingertip into the top part. And then just kind of smush it together so that it makes that kind of kernel thing. And you can press in some areas there if you want. So just make a bunch of those, however many you need to make. If you guys want, I'm going to link in the description. I have a little mini popcorn box template that you can use for any kind of like scrapbooking paper or regular paper or whatever, and make your own little popcorn box to put these in if you want. All right, so I got all my little kernels made up. I'm gonna use some classic caramel and a tiny little brush, and I'm just gonna put some of this right in the center of each piece of popcorn to look like the little kernel inside. Doesn't need to be perfect. You can do this really quickly. Okay, now if you wanted to make this like buttered popcorn, you could just take some pale daffodil and lightly brush over these, not like over the whole thing, but just put a little bit here and there. I want to make this caramel corn because, well, I haven't seen anybody else make that, and I like to do my own thing. So we're going to let these dry overnight before we move on to the caramel part. You want these to be nice and firm so that when we mix in the caramel, it's not gonna mess up all your popcorn kernels. So let these dry and we'll come back tomorrow. Okay, so my popcorn is dry now, and sometimes on some of the kernels it will have kind of like a texture on the end here. So I'm going to go in with my X-Acto knife, not on every piece, but on some of the pieces, and just kind of like make a little bit of texture. And when we put the caramel on, it will kind of catch in these little marks and make it look more realistic. So just kind of cut and like pick at it a little bit and just get a little bit of texture on that back end. I wouldn't necessarily bother to do this if you weren't making caramel corn, because it's not going to really be an issue, not going to be noticeable. But when the caramel goes into those crevices on the real deal, you can really see it. So I wanted to just make some that have that more realistic look. Okay, so I did about half of mine like that, and then the other half are just how they were before. So now I have some resin here, And the bottles that I have pumpers. So I did 4 pumps of each. So 4 pumps of part A and 4 pumps of part B. So I'm going to start out with some brown. I'm just going to put a couple of drops of that in. And then I'm going to put some yellow. I put about 10 drops of yellow. And then I'm just going to mix that around and see how it looks. So I want to add some orange too. This is alcohol ink, if I didn't say that. Oh my goodness. Hopefully I said that before, but I'm using alcohol ink to color this because we want it to have a nice see-through color like caramel. I think we're getting closer. Let's do a little bit more orange. It's still looking a little kind of honeyish. And then I'm also going to add some of my white alcohol ink. And this is just going to make it look more realistic because caramel isn't completely clear like this. So the white's just going to give it a little bit of that cloudiness like real caramel. So I'll just start out with a couple drops and see how that goes. So just keep adding white until you get the look that you want. And if your alcohol ink kit doesn't have white, you can just do like one tiny drop of white paint. But you have to be very careful. Don't put too much because the white paint is way more, I guess, concentrated than this alcohol ink is. So you don't want to put too much. I think I've probably mixed up too much resin for the amount of popcorn that I have, but I wanted to make sure to have enough because I don't want to have to make a whole other batch and try to match the color. So you may not need this much, and depending how much popcorn you have, you may need more. So just keep that in mind. So this is looking pretty good. Okay, so now what we need to do is let this sit. This is very runny right now, so if we put it on the popcorn now, a lot of it's just going to run off. So we need to let it thicken up enough that it's going to stick on there and coat it really nicely. So I'm going to let this sit. I'm going to check it about every 15 minutes and see if it's thick enough, and then when it gets thick enough, I'll come back and we'll coat our popcorn. Okay, so I let this sit for about an hour, and you can see it's quite a bit thicker than it was to start. So I have my popcorn pieces in a disposable bowl here. So I'm just going to pour this over the top. See how thick it is. And then I'm just going to mix it around and get all of the popcorn coated in the caramel. Okay, so now what you can do, depending what kind of container you want to put this in or whatever, you can just put it in the container so it'll all stick into one piece. So you'll want to arrange it how you want it. I'm actually going to take this and put it on some wax paper because I want to be able to have each piece be individual, and then I can just put it in whatever container I want and have it look however I want. So I'm just going to put this out here and then just separate each piece so that they're not stuck together. And then once this is fully cured, then I just have all these separate pieces of popcorn that I can put into my container. And I'll probably just leave them loose so that they can move around in there. But like I said, if you wanted, just while this is still curing, you can put it all in your container and then it will all stick together and just be one piece and be permanently attached to the container. So then you just let it cure, and that's all there is to it. So I wanted to show you this. So these are the ones that I kind of scratched up the bottom, so you can kind of see how the resin has gone into those little scratches. All right, you guys, thank you so much. I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I will see you in the next one.